freeze of the season in a mild weekend ahead. The 10-day forecast shows more cold temperatures rolling our direction.
News coverage you can count on. This is ABC 13 News at 6.
They can be violent, dangerous, and sometimes killers.
It has been 2006 days since the last time that I saw or spoke to my son. That's 2006 days of memories that were robbed.
Gangs are terrorizing the heart of Virginia.
And we have about roughly 220 identified either gang members or associate gang members.
And they are targeting kids to join.
Keep your eyes on your kids and try your best to explain that everybody is not your friend and everybody is not good company.
It's a problem that has police working around the clock.
What's being done in the area specifically to keep children safe in the city?
Tonight, only on ABC 13. In this Voices Against Violence special, we put the gang problem under the microscope.
We have a plan of action, and the plan of action consists of going to where the crime is at.
What's being done to stop them and how you can help.
Tonight at 6, a spotlight on gang violence. Right now, more than 33,000 violent gangs are active in the U.S., according to the FBI.
It is a problem we're seeing here at home, too. And tonight, ABC 13 has team coverage on what police are doing and how you can be a part of the solution.
First, we begin with Paige Meyer, who spoke with a mother who says gang violence cost her the life of her son.
This is the spot where Tamisha Foster's life changed forever.
It's just so much that I miss about him.
7 months later, the pain of losing her son doesn't get easier.
Right now, I'm trying not to cry. It's heartbreaking being here, especially without him.
Foster lost her 16-year-old son, Terrion Marshall, on March 23rd. He was shot and killed here in Lynchburg while driving down 16th Street in broad daylight.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, not my child, not my baby. And I just want to know who did it and why they did it.
That question weighs heavy on Foster and her daughter.
I feel like he's not resting how he wants to because nobody was arrested.
I cry. Like, that's how I get through my day. I cry, I let it out. I be angry most days, but the kids, they keep me going.
Terrion is one of 3 children killed in a shooting this year in Lynchburg. Back in February, 12-year-old Malaysia Solomon was shot and killed while inside her home on Monroe Street. In May, 6-year-old Kingston Campbell was shot and killed while at home in his bed on Floyd Street. The tragedy struck within 3 blocks of each other here in the Diamond Hill district of the Hill City. 3 families grieving with no arrest made.
Please come forward. Us mothers, we love our kids to death, and we want justice for our kids.
Foster tells me she thinks her son's death is a result of gang violence.
I believe some people that he was hanging around with was into God knows what, and that's how my child got cut up in it.
Do you think Terrion was part of any gangs going on, or he was just impacted by the violence?
I think he was just impacted by the violence. He wasn't in any gangs or anything. He was a sweet kid and well loved.
Terrion loved to play basketball, dance around the house, and post videos of him rapping online.
I say love, but then you switch, man, I can't even feel you.
Terrion was also a father. His daughter Kaven turns 1 in November. She lives with her grandmother and is a constant reminder of her son. Kaven's smile, lighting up a room just like her dad.
Now she's starting to say Dada, and I was like, oh, that melted my heart hearing her saying Dada. Oh. Then she looks at his pictures and she goes to sleep with his pillow every night.
No arrests have been made in connection to Terrion's death. If you know anything that could help lead to an arrest, you're asked to call LPD.
Please come forward. Us mothers, we love our kids to death.
In the meantime, Terrion's family is holding on to all the good memories as tight as they can. Reporting in Lynchburg, Paige Meyer, ABC 13 News.
8 months after Malaysia Solomon was killed, there is still very little known about what happened to her. But here is what we do know. On February 24th, around 10 p.m., police responded to her home after she'd been shot in the stomach. Court documents reveal that an hour before, her mother posted a video online showing herself and two juveniles dancing with firearms. Then, according to the warrants, her mother told police that her boyfriend had shot her daughter. We're not naming him because no charges have been filed against him. Those same documents reveal he told police, quote, the gun had just gone off.
3 months later, on May 1st, 6-year-old Kingston Campbell was shot and killed. No one has been charged in his murder either. However, police are still hoping that this surveillance video from that night can help them track down the people who did this.
The night of May 1st, Kingston Campbell was lying in his bed playing video games at his home on Floyd Street. Around 11 that night, things took a dark turn. Surveillance video released by Lynchburg police shows a group standing outside of the young boy's home, firing guns toward it. After a few seconds, the group runs. Months later, the Lynchburg peacemakers released this video from a different angle. It shows a group of people walking down the street that night. There appears to be a timestamp on the corner that shows just before 2 a.m. But the owner tells ABC 13 that was when he showed the video to police. He said it was recorded after 11 p.m. that night, around the time Kingston lost his life. Months later, the hope is the same, that these videos will help find Kingston's killers.
Now, after his death, Shay Fowler, Kingston's mother, said her son was a sweet boy who had her wrapped around his finger.
And when we spoke to her in August, she said this was the hardest thing her family has ever gone through.
Dealing with it every day, knowing that it's no justice, is making it even harder for us because we can't get any closure right now. And my girls every day are just afraid to go to bed at night because they're scared something might happen to them, and it's not right.
No child should have to feel like that. ABC 13 did reach out to her to try and interview her for this special. She declined and said, quote, I decided I didn't want to do any more interviews until we get justice because the interviews have hurt us more than they have helped.
A mother's anguish. You could feel the pain in those words as she looks to police to find her son's killer. The streets can be dangerous, and Lynchburg police place a lot of the blame for the violence on gangs. With names like Lynchburg, 8 Trey Gangsta Crips, Neighborhood 60s Crips, and Queen Street Bloods, organized gangs are here in the Hill City.
Does Lynchburg have a gang problem?
You know, for a city of roughly 82,000 people, I wouldn't say it's a huge problem per se, but it's certainly something that we pay attention to.
Lynchburg Police Chief Ryan Zudema is a gang expert. He headed up the department's gang unit several years ago.
So we certainly have
gangs, he says, are always on their radar.
We have about 24 identified gangs. 17 of those are criminal street gangs. We have about roughly 220 identified either gang members or associate gang members.
Criminal street gangs are often committing the most violent crimes with guns.
How bad is it really?
It may be one gang versus the other, and oftentimes when that happens, within days, weeks at the most, you'll often see retaliatory shootings going back the other way.
Zudema says many of the weapons gangs use are stolen. In fact, over the last 3+ years, Lynchburg police recovered 125 stolen firearms, including 23 so far this year. In May of this year, a bullet fired from outside a home hit and killed 6-year-old Kingston Campbell. Not long after, police released this surveillance video of several people firing weapons near the boy's home.
Is there any connection to the killing of Kingston Campbell and gang activity?
We have a lot of information related to that case, some that very bluntly I'm just not going to share it with the public at this time.
In response to that shooting, Lynchburg enacted a citywide curfew for everyone 17 and younger. To date, they've handed out 41 violations, the most 15 in July. The city also recorded 8 homicides last year. So far this year, there have been 3. Unfortunately, all 3 have been children.
What's being done in the area specifically to keep children safe in the city?
We are prioritizing the resources that we have into areas and individuals who are responsible for a disproportionate amount of our criminal activity in the city.
Chief Zudema says the most important piece of any policing strategy requires something that is often difficult to get: willing partners.
We know there are people that have information, right? We know folks have things that could help us solve these crimes, and we need them to come forward.
In Danville, tackling violent crime and gangs has been top of mind since Chief Scott Booth took over in 2018. Now, when you compare the past 4 years to the 4 years before he became top cop, the city has seen a 52% drop in violent crime. When we spoke with him earlier this year, he credited stratified policing, which includes things like focusing on certain communities, keeping an eye on offenders, and being involved in the community.
So I can't give stratified policing everything, but I think that model really helps keep us focused. I think it's that accountability piece. I think it gives everybody in the department a role to play. It keeps us all focused on reducing crime and engaging our community.
And look at the numbers. As for gangs, since 2019, police have seen a massive jump in gang-related search warrants. And check this out. The number of gang-related reports has dropped. In 2019, they had 42. That number has gone down every year since. They say that's because their violent crime and gang unit has focused on things like gathering intelligence, partnering to get services for at-risk teens identified, and by maintaining the Project Safe Neighborhood Violent Impact Persons list. Booth is now set to take his plan to Roanoke, where he will be sworn in as chief tomorrow.
If you want to watch Mark's full interview with Chief Zudema, you can do that on our YouTube channel. To get there, just scan the QR code at the bottom of your screen. Once you do, it will take you to our page where you can subscribe and find dozens of stories that we've done.
Gang crackdown. Lawmakers saw the problem and are doing something about it.
The new law is to try and keep gang members off the streets.
This year marks the 6th year since the MS-13 gang brutally murdered a Lynchburg teen. Tonight, these are all the 6 men who are behind bars in connection to the murder of Raymond Wood. On the night of March 27, 2017, Wood told his family he was going out to visit a friend. That was the last time they would see him alive. Gang members attacked him, stabbed him, and then dumped his body in Bedford County. In January of this year, the final suspect was sentenced. Wood's mother, Marjorie Stagno, spoke about how this has changed her life.
I have been his voice for the last 5 years and 10 months and will continue to be that for him. If I would have known that that would have been the last day that I would see my son alive, I would have hugged him tighter.
And this is a look at how long each of the men involved will spend behind bars. Both Josue Correas Ventura and Kevin Soto Bonilla received life sentences.
Your state lawmakers are trying to curb gang violence with some new laws here in Virginia. These laws went into effect in July of this year. First, street gang participation went from a Class 5 to a Class 4 felony, which brought one of the major changes: how long you can be sentenced if you're found guilty of gang participation. It used to be 0 to 10 years, but now there's a minimum 2-year sentence if you're convicted. Also, the offenses that are considered criminal gang participation have expanded, adding charges like organized retail theft. This allows prosecutors and law enforcement to cast a wider net. I sat down with Lynchburg Commonwealth's attorney Bethany Harrison. She's optimistic these changes will help clean up our streets.
Clearly, there was a gang violence problem in Virginia because lawmakers said, hey, we need to do something about this.
Well, yes, I think whenever you have criminal street gangs that are committing crimes, terrorizing communities, that's a problem. So now that we have enhanced penalties, I think it also sends a message to our courts that criminal street gang members are to be punished or locked up for longer periods of time because of the danger that they pose to our communities.
Do you think these changes were needed as a matter of public safety?
I welcome these changes. I think they were needed because not just for criminal street gang participation, but also enhanced penalties for adults who are recruiting or involving juveniles as members of the criminal street gang.
Another non-legislative change that Harrison says is helping is the Department of Juvenile Justice's length of stay guidelines. Prior, a juvenile offender could be in detention for up to 6 months, but that's increased to up to 1 year. Harrison believes that will help young people truly rehabilitate so they don't spend their lives in a cycle of crime.
Cutting down on crime and making space for peace. Coming up, why one local group believes this old building can help with both of those.
A game changer for cutting down on violence and gang activity. That's what the Lynchburg Peacemakers are hoping their new headquarters will bring to the city.
ABC 13's Noreen Turin is live with their strategy to change the narrative, one young man at a time.
Well, Mark and Danner, it all starts right here at the nonprofit's new headquarters that they're getting ready to open up sometime in December here at the corner of 12th and Pierce Streets.
Right now, we claim this is our street, and it's going to be peace on this street. This was at one time one of the most violent streets with gun violence, killing a few blocks away. That's not going to happen while the peacemakers are here.
Right now, they are renovating the old building for the Peacemakers headquarters and conflict resolution center. They chose this location because they say it's been a hot spot for gun violence and other crimes. Once this building is open in December, Peacemakers founder and president Sean Hunter says it's going to open up a world of possibilities and hopefully spur a culture shift in the community. They are focusing on young adults aged 18 to 35 who might have grown up amid violence, and maybe they want to change their own course, but they just don't have the guidance.
Right now, we claim this is our street, and it's going to be peace on this street. This was at one time one of the most violent streets with gun violence, killing a few blocks away. That's not going to happen while the peacemakers are here.
All right, so for those who want it, this center is going to offer things like jobs readiness classes. They'll help folks get their GEDs, so many things more. They will also have counselors and peers showing them how to respond to their own anger without guns. Search Peacemakers at WSET.com to learn a whole lot more about what's happening here. Live in Lynchburg, Noreen Turin, ABC 13 News.
And coming up, one group says not all gangs are bad, why they believe some are good, and how they can actually help children. Steering young people away from violence and toward success is the mission of a program being used in Lynchburg City schools.
ABC 13's Mia Nelson is live tonight to share how it works.
Mark and Danner, the program is called Good Gangs, and it's designed to help set our youth on a positive path. Lynchburg City Schools partners with the University of Lynchburg and the police department to host the Good Gangs program at Fort Hill Community School. There are 28 middle schoolers in the program right now. The students meet 3 days a week with their mentors who teach the program. Program director Dr. Owen Cardwell says they focus on things like self-efficacy, identifying career options, and conflict resolution. He says the idea behind Good Gangs is that all youth want to belong.
There's nothing wrong with a gang as long as the motives of the gang are pure. A baseball team is a gang, etc.
Cardwell tells me the program has received more than $250,000 in funding, a $50,000 Operation Ceasefire grant from the Attorney General's office, $150,000 from the Department of Criminal Justice Services, and $66,000 through the Teen and Police Service Academy. And Dr. Cardwell says that this isn't the only part of their plans. Their goal is to get this program in all Lynchburg middle schools. And in addition, they also head up the 40 Ways Coalition, which is a group of 35 organizations working to address gun violence in the city. Live in Lynchburg, Mia Nelson, ABC 13 News.
We'll be right back. Earlier this year, we aired another Voices Against Violence special that focused on gun violence and how that issue is impacting our community. If you missed part one, you can watch that now on our YouTube page.
Also, if there was anything from tonight's show that you'd like to read more about, you can do that as well. We have articles on all of these stories posted on our ABC 13 app. Once you download it, also make sure to sign up for push alerts so we can alert you to breaking news. One of the biggest things we learned from tonight is that people are getting involved, but we need more people to get involved to make a difference.
And also say something. If you have seen something, don't be afraid to report that and try and, help some of these mothers find some closure.
That's right. Police need you to get involved as well. Thanks for watching ABC 13 News. Get the very latest at WSET.com.
World News starts now.